Okay, let's open up the case file. Our person of interest today, the philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer. Now, this guy is often called one of history's greatest pessimists, and for good reason. He built his entire case for reality on a pretty bleak foundation.
So this is our starting point. You could almost call it the scene of the crime. Schopenhauer's core belief was that life is just this endless, grinding cycle of striving and suffering. He basically thought our existence is a mistake, a pointless struggle with absolutely no reward at the end. I mean, it's a seriously grim diagnosis for all of us. Whoa, wait a minute, hold on. If everything is just meaningless suffering, then what's the point of, anything? Especially something like painting a picture or listening to a symphony. How on earth can art be the answer to all that? That feels like a huge contradiction in the evidence. This is the central mystery we've got to solve.
Exactly. And to figure that out, we first have to identify the main suspect behind all this suffering. Schopenhauer was convinced there was this single, fundamental force that was driving the entire universe toward this state of constant, painful struggle.
He called this force the will. Now, let's be clear, this isn't about your individual willpower, like your will to finish a marathon or something. For Schopenhauer, the will is this huge metaphysical concept. It's like a blind cosmic energy that just wants and strives, with no goal, no reason. You see it in the plant reaching for the sun, the lion hunting its prey, and in every single one of our own desires that never seem to end. It's the engine that never, ever stops, and its fuel, it's our suffering.
Hold on a second. You're telling me that this one, simple, blind urge is the grand explanation for all the complexity of life? For every thought, every war, every piece of poetry ever written? That sounds way too simple. It doesn't add up. There has to be more to it.
And you're right to be skeptical, but this is exactly where our first real clue comes in. Schopenhauer argued that while we can't just stop the will from running the world, there is a way to temporarily step out of its path, a momentary escape.
And the way he described this escape, it's almost euphoric. He called it the Sabbath of the penal servitude of willing, a moment where the wheel of Ixion stands still. If you know your Greek mythology, Ixion was doomed to be forever bound to a spinning wheel of fire. For Schopenhauer, that's just our normal life. So this escape he's talking about is this moment of profound, almost godlike peace.
So how do we get there? It happens through what he called will-less perception. Think about it. Normally, we see everything through the lens of our will. You see an apple and think, I can eat that. You see a storm and think, I need shelter. We're always asking, what can this do for me? But in an aesthetic experience, our minds can actually break free. We stop asking what something is for us, and we can simply contemplate what it is. We just look.
Okay, I can see how that would be peaceful, but if we're in this state of will-less perception, just looking at things without any desire, what exactly are we investigating here? What are we supposed to be seeing?
This is where it gets really fascinating. Schopenhauer claims we're not just seeing an individual thing, like one single tree. In that moment of pure contemplation, he says we are actually glimpsing the Platonic idea of the tree, its essential, universal, and timeless form. It's like we're seeing the perfect blueprint for treeness itself. This is the objective side of the whole experience.
A blueprint, huh? So does that mean all art is equal in this? Is looking at a simple building the same as watching a complex tragedy? Does all art show us the same level of truth?
Not at all. Schopenhauer actually set up the arts in a really clear hierarchy. Think of it like a ladder, where each rung up reveals a more complex and a more complete idea. So way down at the bottom, you have architecture. It shows us the most basic ideas, like gravity and rigidity. As you move up, painting and sculpture reveal the idea of humanity. Then poetry can express the incredibly complex inner life of humanity. And at the very top of this ladder, tragedy. Why? Because it forces us to look square in the face of the most significant truth of all, the terrible nature of life and suffering.
Hang on a second. This ladder, there's a huge piece missing. We've talked about buildings, paintings, poems, plays, but what about music? I mean, it's a massive part of art and it's just not on the list. That feels like a major inconsistency. Where does music fit into all this?
That is the key question that cracks this entire case wide open. Because for Schopenhauer, music isn't on the ladder. It's not just another clue. It is in a category completely by itself. It's the master key.
So, get ready for the big twist. All the other arts, architecture, painting, all of them, they give us a copy of a copy, right? They represent the Platonic ideas, which are themselves just expressions of the will. It's an indirect picture of reality. But music, Schopenhauer argued, completely bypasses the ideas. It is a direct copy of the will itself. It speaks the secret language of the universe's inner nature.
And his evidence for this was a series of these really deep analogies. Think about it. Music doesn't express this specific joy or that particular sadness. It expresses joy and sadness themselves, universally. He argued the deep bass notes are like the raw, inorganic world, the planet itself. The high-weeding melody? That's like the constant striving of human consciousness. This is why music works so well as a soundtrack to our lives. It seems to reveal the secret emotional truth behind any scene, any event. It's a direct experience of the striving, the pain, and the joy that make up the will.
Okay, I think I'm following now. Art, and especially music, gives us this profound and honestly kind of terrifying glimpse into the true, striving nature of reality. It gives us self-knowledge. But so what? What are we supposed to do with that knowledge? Where does this whole investigation lead? That is the final and most critical point. For Schopenhauer, this knowledge isn't just for our entertainment. The insight we get from art isn't passive. It is the absolute precondition for the one and only truly free and meaningful choice a human being can ever make.
See, once you have truly seen the world for what it is, this endless blind striving, you're left at an ultimate ethical crossroads. You've got two options. One, you can affirm the will. You see all the suffering and striving and you choose to embrace it anyway. Or two, you can negate the will. You see the horror of it all and you choose to renounce it, to quiet your own desires through compassion for others and a life of asceticism. For Schopenhauer, this is the only event in itself. This is the whole ballgame.
So in the end, art isn't just a nice escape from a suffering world. It's a form of knowledge. It pulls back the curtain on the fundamental nature of existence. Schopenhauer was convinced that once you had that knowledge, you'd be so horrified you would naturally choose to negate the will. But the choice is still there. So the investigation is complete, all the evidence is on the table, and the final question is left to you. Art reveals the truth of the world. What will you do with it?